behind the lines in 3, 2, 1, rebuild!
Rebuild starts with the autonomous section. First 20 seconds is all pre-programs. Robots tossing off these fuel as quickly as possible, trying to score as much points during that autonomous period. None of the teams are making their way into the neutral zone, trying to score as much of this preloaded fuel as possible, getting some additional assistance from their human players. Kyle, as we come out of the autonomous time period, it's 28-21 in favor of the Blue Alliance, which means Red will get that first Alliance shift. Before we head there, though, we get the transition period. Both of those hubs temporarily active, while teams head to the center to pick up as much fuel as possible. We've now entered to the first shift. Red Alliance gets the only active hub. So Blue Alliance will play a little bit of Hungry Hippos. They try to pick up as much fuel as possible and squirrel it away for a future day. They're hoping to keep that fuel active as much as possible, pushing some into their outpost for their human player to toss in later. Red Alliance wrapping up their first shift with the hub, coming out of its currently score of 59. Blue Alliance putting up quite a volley of fuel, trying to close that gap between them and their opponents. Just over 90 seconds remain in this match. 45, the Technocats, currently one of our high-ranked teams in this match, picking up fuel from the center part of the field. Their expandable hopper allows them to hold on to much more fuel than traditionally possible. Teams scoring into their hub before it's active will get no points for their alliance, as they need to make sure their hub is active as the fuel passes through that sensor on the field. That's what allows so for such quick turnarounds this season is a lot of the fuel is automatically counted. 45 receiving a little bit of bumper-on-bumper action from the Pike Robo Devils. That's 10-18. That type of contact is allowed as long as it's kept under the requirement and the time requirement outlined in the game manual. 94-31, launching a couple of fuel into their hub now that it's become active. Scores 76-86, only a 10-point difference between these two teams. Blue Alliance getting that advantage that they bought in the autonomous period with that last active hub before we enter that end game period. All tied up, Blue Alliance now surpassing them. Red Alliance getting ready for that final opportunity to score, as we'll hear that steam whistle in just a few moments. Entering that endgame period, both of those hubs are now active. Red was well prepared for that with their volley of fuel. Tying up the difference between these teams is only a few points. Many teams will bypass the climb and instead insist that they'll continue to score fuel for their alliance. Only 14 seconds remaining in the match. Blue Alliance attempting to post some of those into their alliance station. Red Alliance blasting past that requirement ranking for the ranking point. Here are your final seconds here. 3, 2, 1. That's the end of qualification match 24. Stick tight to see those scores. For most of that, back and forth with the fuel. 3 points distinguish these two teams, 108 for Red and 105 for Blue. Red Alliance going to get a walk away with 4 of those ranking points. 1 for cresting the energized threshold, that's 100 fuel required. And of course, 3 for winning the match, 45 rising to the 4th ranked position. Stick tight for qualification match.